If you were concerned about possible ethics violations or conflicts of interest in the Trump administration, get ready for a doozy of a week that's coming up, because now, in this following week, we have, I believe, 10 of the very high-profile Trump nominees for a number of government positions that are going to be going up for their hearings. And so the Congress, the Senate, they're going to be talking to these people, questioning them, concerns about a lot of their ties to business and lobbying and all of that. And so you kind of need to have information about them. Unfortunately, a lot of that information will not be available because it appears intentionally the scheduling of those nominees has been rushed and pushed up so that the Office of Government Ethics, which is investigating their ethical concerns and conflicts of interest, will not yet have completed their work. And that is almost certainly by design. And so what you're going to have is, starting on Monday, you're going to have multiple of these nominees being crammed through in a single day, when any one of them deserves an entire news cycle to look into all of their concerns. So there's, Betsy DeVos in the education position. You have Rex Tillerson, former head of Exxon Mobil, who's going to be going into as head of the State Department, even though he has no experience in diplomacy of any kind whatsoever. And there are massive concerns, perhaps larger than Trump's concerns, about his conflicts of interest when it comes to money, in particular his business ties to Russia when it comes to some oil contracts and the potential for business dealings of up to $500 million or more. All of that deserves an incredible amount of media attention, which we will not be able to get because multiple of those chuckleheads and jackals are going to be going through in a single day. So, look, the head of the Office of Government Ethics put out a letter talking about his frustration with how the schedule has been pushed up by the Trump administration and Republicans in the Congress, and how the nominees have not been replying to requests for information that the Office of Government Ethics needs to conduct their review. I want to read you a couple of the sections. So he says that the problems they're having right now have been that the hearing schedule, combined with a lack of timely information from nominees and the Trump team, he says, quote, "It has left some of the nominees with potentially unknown or unresolved ethics issues shortly before their scheduled hearings," which is right now, by the way. He also says, "In the past, the ethics work was fully completed prior to the announcement of nominees in the overwhelming majority of cases, and therefore, there was no opportunity for undue influence on the independent ethics review process." Now, what that means is, and I apologize that I'm going to go back to historical precedent and the way things are supposed to work here, is that these ethical investigations happen before you, as president, say, "That's my man, that's my woman, I'm putting them in that position, they're totally cool." But instead, he simply says, "No, I'm putting this guy as Secretary of State, head of Labor, head of Department of Education." We have no idea what their ethical problems or potential dilemmas are. Now, that is a two-pronged problem. One, now there's a lot of pressure on the Office of Government Ethics to rush their work to get them ready for their hearings, which might not even happen, but could theoretically happen. And then on the other side, it's potentially bad for the Trump administration, because if it turns out that some of these people have huge ethical concerns, as Monica Crowley is finding out today, since it turns out one of her books was largely plagiarized from a number of different hard right sources, is that now you look like reckless. You're just choosing people randomly without any concern for what they've done or what they might do once they get into that position. So this is a potential minefield for the Trump administration, but the likelihood of that is far lower than the fact that we're probably going to get screwed as a country, because most of these people are going to get the positions that Trump wants them to have. God knows what they'll do in those positions, and God knows what potential problems we should already know about when our senators and congressmen go to ask the relatively benign questions they're likely to ask them now. So I'm glad that the Office of Government Ethics is actually making clear that they're attempting to do their job, they're attempting to weed out conflicts of interest, but they have not received the cooperation that is expected from the Trump administration. Although outside of that office, I don't think anyone else expects a great deal of cooperation.